G'day, g'day, g'day. Mathematical KM here. Bit of a ripper today. King got a bit of a rush of blood at one point, but it was a tough game against Bernard. We've met once before, and that was a draw. So I'm weighing in at 1430. He's 1566, so 135 uphill. Let's have a 2-second look at select opponent, Bernard Gibson. Well, that's actually a win, a draw and a loss. So let's see how this travels. Away we go. I've got the white pieces today. So those of you who've watched some of these are pretty used to the first 10 moves. So we'll just whiz through that. That one's of note, the A pawn to A3, in case his A pawn comes forward, in which case we just do that. Or if his B pawn comes forward, the A pawn comes forward. That's the Lego fit. Fianchetto the bishop. He does something similar behind quite a lot of granite. And I mentioned to Bernard that at this point I could just go home. I've set up the full thick-skinned hippo. And it's interesting that the eval is basically 0 at this point with the full thick-skinned hippo. Aries come forward. We go forward to B pawn. Okay, he's connected, or he's now got the ability to castle either way, and his queen is on an interesting diagonal. I played G4, thoughts of bringing the knight around. Okay, that was a crazy 4-pawn centre on that side. Let's make me a little smaller and take a bit of a look at computer likes B takes, because he's really got 2 pieces attacking my B pawn. I've only really got the one defender and I don't really want to move that defender. I don't have to if I play that, so B takes makes sense. But G5's been on the cards for a little while to make that knight move, and that would actually give the edge to white, but I've got the second best move. It's called a miss because I should have moved his knight along. He takes with his bishop. Now, computer still likes G5. Second best, castling. Third best, D4, which is protected by a pawn and a knight and a bishop, and it threatens his bishop. And so third best, played. Called an inaccuracy, but it was the third best move in the position. Anyway, so in the game, his bishop moves back, and now I should just swap off that pawn or castle. G5 still a move. Now that was a mistake. Which we'll see how well I get away with it or not. Bit of a mistake because right now clearly the best move for black is taking that F pawn with his E pawn, because he has 1, 2, 3 attackers, 1 defender, 2 defenders, really just giving that pawn away. So I was exceptionally lucky. It's like 1.2 difference. The second best is just pushing his E4 pawn forward. So I was lucky to get away with that one. That's something to be more aware of, or lessons learnt from the game, is I actually was only counting the getting more attack on his E pawn. I should really have looked at the defenders on my F pawn were I to play the move. And given that the F pawn was a silly move, he could have just snapped it up. The best move, and as shown by the computer, was just taking. Alright, so anyway, he's pushed forward. Computer still wants g5. But I've brought the knight round, my original plan. He now blocks the g5 move. That's the point. It's called an inaccuracy, but with certain combos and with this pawn not being super duper secure. Anyway, what I've done here is I have shored up the whole structure. It's called an inaccuracy. Bishop to f1. Making a threat was best. Fair enough, I can think about that. Wasn't terrible, shoring it up. Okay, he's brought a knight around. That's looking like an excellent outpost, protected by 2 pawns for his knight. I swing my knight in, because if he does come in, I'm just going to whip it off with my other knight. That's my plan. This one, best move, is threatening the bishop. It can't go here or here, or here, or stay. Really want to get rid of this battery which is aimed at that pawn. Really the only place for that bishop is back to f8, and that's his best move, which he plays the best move there. Now for me, I know I've got the bishop protecting the rook, and I've got thoughts of playing g6, so it was good. But he decides to kick my knight out. The knight comes back. I do get a little bit discombobulated here. Now the material is even, but my slightly disconnected pieces is showing in the evaluation of 2.5 to black. But he's got to make it happen still. That's an inaccuracy, bringing that knight in, and yep, best move for me is whipping it off with my knight. He brings his queen in. Taking with the b pawn was better. It would have given him an open line for the rook, various things. But with the queen can't infiltrate to any square. I mean, it can force the queens off, because it's my queen that's protecting some of those squares, but the queen can't come in, and yeah, I can ignore the queen for a little bit. It just can't get in. I can, and computer likes it the most, is bishop f1, telling it to go away, but I was basically thinking that queen's going to go away on its own, so let's do something over on the king side. And it's a mistake, and bishop d6 right now threatens my knight, which is currently unprotected. And it's played, it's the best move. I've got to give that knight a guard. Computer really likes king to f2, but I've actually gone with rook to h3, and now the computer likes that best. Go figure, it wasn't even in the 3 moves it was suggesting. Okay, he sets up his battery again, so he's got 2 pieces at the knight. Taking the knight back to h1 is interesting. And it's not the best place for a knight, can only see 2 squares instead of 8. But the bishop can't come in and check, or the knight will grab it, and if it comes in all the way, it's sort of out of play as well. But the second best move, king to f2, played. Now I've got 2 guards on the knight. He's bringing his king forward as well. Best move, g5. Not played. I decided to I notice the bishop is hanging. Should everything destroy? And also, if I get the chance, thoughts of bringing the other rook across. He's brought the queen in, offering to let the queens come off. Which I didn't really like. So I've played g5, threatening his knight. Now he's gotten the queens off. Actually had a bit of a think here. It's king takes or knight takes. No, king to g1 is just stupid. But it is 6 worse in the eval. And king takes is best, and I sort of agreed because the knight's in the action. I took with the king. And this is where one of the swings and roundabouts that happens in this game is about to happen. That wasn't it. That was best. And I take back. That was best. And now what Bernard's missed with what he does next is realising if pawn takes, it comes with check, which makes a difference. So it's a blunder. And to capitalise on it, I've got... If I could just take the knight and then the bishop could disappear again, it would just be a trade and I'd be losing a pawn. It would be not good. But because it's a great move, comes with check. He takes... So now I'm up a piece for 2 pawns. Piece for 2 pawns, remember that equation. Okay, they like rook to f1 check and c4. Maybe c4 would have been hard to calculate how that ends up being any good. But I've gone a miss. I do let his king end up back here in cover, which is perhaps not the best. But I'm trying to develop... I've now got 3 pieces developed over here, seeing what I can do. And I was thinking about a very slow... Try and get this bishop developed while this is all locked up. But Bernard very wisely... See, I started it and it's a mistake and it goes to -1. Always be aware of when your king and a major piece are on a diagonal. And like there's a pawn there, there's no bishop on it. It doesn't matter, you've got to look at how it could happen. And the best move for black here, okay, he's going to have a discovered check lined up on a rook, and then this pawn is threatening 2 different pawns. I'll be moving the king, and then he'll get to take a pawn. Everything will be bad. So I've moved the rook first. That was the best move available. So I've doubled the rooks aimed at his king, which is okay. And also moving the king won't lose me a rook. It's still a great move. And king to d2 is the best move because now protected, maybe coming straight forward is best. And in fact, that was the top move for him, getting a protected passed pawn. But second best is b takes c3, which he's played. Called a mistake, the b3 was best. King takes. That's an inaccuracy. It's asking to... That is interesting, and I suppose it does make a lot of sense in the benefit of hindsight. All of his pawns are on the light squares. Of course he wants to swap the bishops. And plus 0.4 to me if I say no to the swapping of bishops. It makes perfect sense. Tough game. And now it tells me it was best anyway. But how do you believe these computers? Now I've got I don't need to protect the bishop, which is protected by a rook, so the king can go anywhere. And I think you're about to find one of the most interesting stretches of this game. While I'm in near panic mode, but making all the 0.00 moves. Let's count them. Because I thought after the game, king to b2 and then hiding in here was going to be far and away simpler and best. d2 is just the worst one. But I've gone forward thinking about, can I eat some pawns? That's not going to happen. So it's one 0.00 king move. He checks. I believe it's kind of forced. Oh no, there's two, and they're both 0.00. And so two 0 moves. Kind of scary when you've got two rooks looking at you like that. King to a6 was better. That was 0. So dropped off on that one. He's let me off a little. The king is not feeling happy, and because that wasn't a check, desperate to try and get another piece or two pieces over near my king and in front. So I've backed this rook up. This rook's got to protect that bishop, and with some sort of luck I can maybe get my second rook across. He's backed up so that he can, if I don't do anything about this, well, that would be mate. Can't let that happen. Only one 0 move, and that's king a6 played. It's a great move. It's the only one that stops the checkmate. Okay, that's a good check. King to b6 is best. It's still on 0. Okay, now that's a mistake. Doubling those rooks there. They're not, rook c to c8, doubling the other way, a step away from the king was better. Well, let's see what happens. That was best. Trying to see a way of getting my bishop across in hopes of king behind bishop. Okay, he's checked me. That was the best direction, because maybe that would be the normal sort of check with your doubled rooks that you'd get in. But the pawn's stopping it. So that is not a check. And also, let's go back. So he can't check me that way. And if he checks me that way, he loses the rook. So there is no check. He's going to have to give me a move here. I've won a tempo. Backs the rook up. Bishop. King has got a friend. Check. Hide behind friend. Check. You'll note pawn and king, two defenders of the bishop. Starting to make a house. It's no longer 0.00. He checks, king backs up. He's trying to bring his king now. What am I going to do? Let's try and get at least a pair of rooks off here. So that's good. He's doubled, I've doubled. He takes, I take, he takes, I take. Smoke clears. I am one pawn down and one piece up, so a bishop for a pawn. But those two pawns over there look relatively strong, and it's on plus 6.5 here. a4 is the best move, played. He plays a good king move. a5 is good. He's bringing the king. Note, I don't move the pawn onto a square where the bishop can't protect it. I did contemplate going there. No, it would have been, he would have caught me. King comes in, it's good. Bishop is still protecting my pawn, and it's giving a bit of cover against his 2 pawns there. If I can just, if nothing else happens, get my king around. Okay, and it's at this point, it's interesting that king e2 is best. I take, and I'm told e takes is best. He takes. And this is plus 50.5. Kind of crazy, that. I know if his king leaves my pawn, I'm through. And I know if one pawn comes forward, I block the other. It's interesting. It's kind of hard. Bishop to d2. Let's go through. There you go. It's weird. I've taken the draw with repetition. When I was at, plus 44. But, and I do need more work on the endgame and more work with Solomon Riddell's endgame course. Let's take a look at playing these little computer moves. I like the d2. Okay, king b5. Why would he have let me do that? Is that really his best move? Not moving one of the pawns? f3, I think it's more human, and with only 76.3 to 76.8, playing f3 check, I think that's a more human move to play. So we'll give him that move. King f2. King to b5, I think makes most sense. King e3. King c6. Bishop b4. b7. Bishop to d2. Sorry folks about this video getting a little boring here, just seeing how this works. Bishop f2. You can't leave the pawn, but now my king can leave. And my king will come around, take the d pawn, and between the d and the a. Well, yep, that's what I didn't see, but not at the moment. Too ashamed to... Two powerful pawns, he couldn't leave, and I've taken the draw with a high-rated opponent. And there you go. I'll see you guys after Thursday night's game. So, bye from the Mathematical KM. Like, share and subscribe.